Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Play Oddworld Abe's Oddysee. I'm Matrixer. We're in the Scribanian Temple, and right away we're going to start off with some secret areas. Scribanian Temple, 3 times more secret areas than the Paramonian Temple, which, if you think about it, isn't that many. Right off, we start off with a bit of a sneaking puzzle. This requires just, patience, I think. Some people would be a bit tempted to rush through this, but if you do that, then you have a lot of chance to screw up. If you just relax, take your time, everything will go down fine. If you were to possess the slate before turning off the UXB, then you wouldn't go to the next screen, which is very bad because this slig is vital for what we are about to do. So this is going to be I know I keep saying that, something that'll be common in the future, but I'm pretty serious here, especially near the end of the game. You'll be placed between 2 slog pens and then you'd have to turn back and forth trying to shoot them. Luckily, you can kind of cheese it and just hide here and shoot everyone before they bug you, but if you were to do it normally, you'd have to turn back and forth, and it's a lot trickier. This guy, sometimes he falls off the ledge if you try to possess him from the ground floor, but in this case that didn't happen, so I was able to just safely possess him from the bottom. Again, I haven't brought it up in a while, so maybe it is a surprise, maybe not, but he would fall off a lot in exactly the PC version of the game. That was a far more common thing. Okay, well, now that we got that secret out of the way, you better hope you do this all in one shot, or you'd have to do it all over again, which is what makes this segment especially difficult. So, when I was younger, this was pretty scary to me, but the main thing you gotta know is to just not hesitate. And for this room especially, you can have a secret trick in that for every screen you go into, the slig positions reset, so you can do this, you can go back and then have this guy walk off the screen again, making that jump far easier to time. Trust me, it's no fun to die at this very screen if you're trying to save everyone, because you can get pretty impatient when you have to restart things. So just like the Paramonian Temple, we have a bit of a tablet to look through. In the Scribanian Temple, it tells us the usual things. We've seen Scrabs before, but here you can have a, longer look at it, see what they're about. The part about them fighting each other is pretty important. We haven't seen that yet. You'll be seeing it a lot in this video. Flintlocks, we already know about flintlocks, whatever. And maps, if you care about cartography in Oddworld, here you go. Here's your present. We're going to be going counterclockwise. I think that's the order the game intends you to go in. I really like the central room, by the way. The central pillar looks like a face. I don't know. 2 eyes. Yeah, we never know. So finally, we're going to look at the Scrabs. You see they're not covered in silhouettes in their full glory. I'm running over here to the end just to show something off I've been neglecting to show off, which is that you can possess bells beforehand and you can make horrible, unmelodic noises with them. If you were to know the melody beforehand, the door still wouldn't open. Abe himself would have to hear it, so you can't, cheese the stages and just know everything beforehand and just run through. And even then you wouldn't unlock the flintlocks, so I don't know. This room is relatively straightforward. The trickiest part about it isn't getting the password and the flintlock activated. It's more about actually getting out, because once you're in here, you're kind of forced to face the Scrabs. So what would happen to me sometimes is that, for whatever reason, the Scrabs would actually walk through the walls and then fight each other. Again, PC version, but it looks like that's not the case, so I can't cheese it this time. Usually when Scrabs fight each other, they're distracted. But here, you can take the advantage of that Scrab's hesitation and run through. One interesting thing is that, much like Sligs, there are different types of Scrabs. Some of them will attack you immediately, others will wait like 2 or 3 seconds before running after you, giving you an opportunity to slip past them. Never try to run through a Scrab though. That's never a good idea. They'll stop you, to put it simply. Here's an example where learning Scrab behavior can really help out. So this guy, for example, sometimes he just runs back and forth and like dodges, but in his case he doesn't run immediately, and that's to our advantage. One thing to mention is that Scrabs are easily the most buggiest AI in the Alive engine, so even if it does help to learn their AI, even the most unpredictable things can happen. You never know. One technique I like to do is to kind of goad them over, like that. If you're hanging off of a ledge, you don't have to stand on the ground, that'll be enough to have them chase you. Because you are vulnerable when you are hanging on the ledge, and they will knock you down if you don't get up in time. Although I do find it strange, because in official artwork and stuff like that, Scrabs don't have eyes. Neither do Paramites, actually, as far as I can tell. So it seems like a lot of what they can sense is from hearing, and I'm not sure how they can hear you hanging down a ledge. Might be thinking too hard about it. So what we did here is just got to pull a series of levers and pull these flintlocks. You notice there that when you pull a flintlock, I didn't mention this in the Paramonian Temple, the main door that you came through will lock as well. So if you pull a flintlock, you have to finish the room, no questions asked. That wasn't too bad. As you can see, a lot of Scribanian Temple requires you to make yourself vulnerable, which I think is the biggest difference between that and the Paramonian Temple. In Paramonian Temple, you kind of have to know where the traps are and avoid those traps before the traps can get you. But in the Scribanian Temple, you kind of have to willingly walk into these traps and be under their mercy. And what really identifies your success is how quick and responsive you are to them. That was such an articulate way to put it. By the way, good idea to save a rock so this thing doesn't bother you. Makes my life a lot easier. I don't know what that writing on the walls is. I think it's just made up Mudokon language. Considering that in most things writing is in English, I just assume it's like some native thing. Okay, so I really don't like this room. Because that Slig in the background, I don't know what his deal is. It seems like he will shoot you in only particular spots, so you kind of have to wait till he's on the left side of the screen before you can pull this lever and kill a guy, but that's me just kind of guessing. I know that if you try to make a run for it, it definitely won't work out. I've tried many times. And you see, in that sense, he didn't try to shoot me, but... And I think if he's beside the rock, he also won't shoot you, but anywhere else, he'll get you in a second. That's the hardest part of that room. Now at this point, all we gotta do is kill a lot more slogs. We're killing a lot of slogs, and I hope that doesn't bother you, because slogs are pretty disposable in this game. Notice that I'm momentarily shooting, I'm not holding the button. That's so I won't like step back, although stepping back wouldn't be a big deal here. It's just kind of a good habit to pick up. I don't think that guy shoots you on sight, but you can never be too safe. I didn't check in the video, but in case you're wondering, there is no secret area in that slog kennel. That would be too clever. No, it's a lot... Most secret areas are a lot more uncreative than that, and in the worst possible way. One thing I like about the Scribanian Temple is that, unlike the Paramonian Temple, you get a lot of images from the outside, so you still get that like red, dusky image of the outdoors. It makes it look a little more breezy, and I don't know, especially here, it's a lot nicer. I like having all that open space going on. It's less claustrophobic than the Paramonian Temple is. Which, you know, I'm just realizing right now, Paramonian Temple, a lot of closed spaces. Scribanian Temple, it's a lot more open, even if technically you don't really get, like, crushed or anything. So you see, these guys, they'll chase you immediately, but two Scrabs meet and they'll do that. They'll completely forget about you. This is an important thing to keep in mind when going through this room and future rooms. And speaking of bullshit secrets, that's terrible. That wall, there is no indication that there's anything there. At least not that I can see. Someone's gonna be smug and tell me there's something indicating a secret, but you know what? I'll stick to my guns. So this Scrab, he's very aggressive. He will chase you immediately, like so. And you don't want to stay in the tube up there because he can actually go through the tube and kill you. It's kind of scary. This is the hardest part. This mine, very little time to move through, so your timing's got to be perfect. I think if you're even a second off, you'll have to restart it. And unlike in the Paramonian secret, if you die in any of these Scribanian temple secrets, you'd have to start from the beginning of the temple room, not from the beginning of the secret, which is the worst. Okay, let's see, just to make sure there's nothing indicating. Yeah, no, there's nothing. I have no idea what could possibly tell you that there's a secret there. It's, man, I don't know. That's terrible. For what it's worth, the next secret we'll see is pretty clever. I like how it's done. It's important that you have a Scrab chasing you before you run off, because maybe this is just my anxiety, but I always worry that it's possible for two Scrabs to chase you at the same time because of a bug in the engine. It's happened before. And if you're wondering, you can run through Scrabs when they're fighting each other, but I never do it just because I'm like paranoid of getting hit. Especially when I'm this far into the room, I don't want to have to start it all over again. And we get our lever, our flintlock. I like how many paintings there are in the room about Scrabs, like chasing things, as if you can't get the picture enough. They really want to hammer it down for you. Now this final part's tricky because there's always going to be at least one Scrab left. And you want to... They're slightly faster than you, or just as fast, one or the other, so any simple mistake will get you killed, more or less. You really want to be jumping at the right time. Let's dance with death. It's a good thing Scrabs can't go through doors, because then we'd be in real big trouble. I don't know why Abe was angry there. That wasn't my intention. Things are going actually way more smoothly than I would have liked. Okay, this dude's fucking insane. I don't know what his problem is, but he's pissed off as soon as he's on screen. He just runs around like a dog. And, well, we can't have that. And the best part is... Hello! I love that Scrab so much. I love how he goes up the thing. It's just... It's a really clever use of, like, the mechanics of the game, the environment interacting with the things that live inside it. I don't think they do it enough here. They might do it more in the next game. And best of all... Well, first I'll get the bell music, I guess, because I want to keep you waiting. Best of all, this leads to a secret, which I think is really cool. You know, if you just keep holding down, then you'll find yourself here. I wish more secrets were like this. It's clever, it's fun, you know. Unfortunately, the secret itself is not my favorite. You might get some deja vu here, because It's another one of these, like back in the stockyards, where you have to run back and forth, leading a couple dudes. 3 instead of 2 this time, and as a trade-off, it's only 2 screens instead of like 5. Still pretty irritating. What I'm doing here is I'm keeping the Mudakin entertained, because if I say follow me and then he'll go back to work, I won't notice until I jump off, and that just makes more unnecessary time for me. Oh dear. You really want to run when the Scrab is facing away from you. Doing anything else is murder. That was actually kind of stupid of me, because he wasn't even all the way right. And please don't mess up on any of the button presses. Awesome. We're doing pretty good. You know, considering how much of Scribanian Temple relies on reflex and stuff, I was expecting it to be harder, but everything went pretty well. I'm not sure if I wait to watch this one. Yeah, I bounce. Because as you see, there's a bit of space for the Scrab to catch up to you. I don't know what this dude's deal is. If you go down that, there's no secret down there, so just leave him alone. It'd be a pretty terrible place for a secret anyway, because then you'd have no way to avoid the Scrab. I don't even remember what this room is. I think the Scribanian Temple has more rooms than the Paramonian Temple, so... Ah, okay. This turned out to be pretty weird because he's supposed to be attacking you right away, but he doesn't, and then this happens. I'm not sure. This room's pretty forgettable. I don't remember anything about it, to be quite honest. You might have noticed that there's those rock structures that have like straw sticking out of them. This was actually in concept art, using concept art a lot. I think it's supposed to be like Scrab nests, but I can't go into much more detail than that. Like, see, there's another one, like a rock would hanging out of it. But I'm not sure how that works, considering they're hanging like that. There's no way a Scrab could be able to do that. And I don't know what baby Scrabs look like, or baby Paramites for that matter. Baby anything. You don't see a lot of babies in Oddworld. That was pretty simple. The scariest part was at the very end when I jumped the ledge. The Scrab almost... If you try to, like, jump over Scrabs, they do this thing with their legs where they, like, poke at you like they have a... like their front legs are spears. It's a really jittery animation, and it looks pretty shitty, to be quite honest. But it does a good job of basically killing Abe. What's up, buddy? This becomes pretty... formulaic. The farther you get into the temple, it's like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. The emulator kind of screws up here, and I think later on, so if the slowdown starts, that's what's causing that. I like this area simply because at the very bottom we have another demonstration of interacting things with the environment. I guess in the Paramonian Temple, the environment was more like crushing paramites with boulders and killing them with bees. Here it's more about lifts. I don't know. I just think the image of a Scrab riding a lift is funny. I think it has a very good time with it. And I'm a big idiot and pulled the lever too early. Another one of those cases where the engine can fuck up. Sometimes the Scrab will actually fall into the well. What happens when a Scrab falls into the well? It acts like a pit. It dies. That's it. The game doesn't know how to handle that. Scrabs aren't supposed to fall into pits. If Abe falls into a well, well, that's all that happens. You have to run jump too. I don't know what that deal is. I think it's the only area in the game where a ledge is really close to a lift. So that probably... not a lift, a well. So that has something to do with it. So pulling that lever down there lets us activate this well. Hold on. If you think that looks cool, wait till you'll be able to do it yourself in Abe's Exodus. It's not as exciting as you may think, which is probably for the better. We don't need it to be complicated. Alright, let's get out of here. Or not. Okay. Something that stands out in the Scrab design, I think far more than any other animal, and this might just be my bias because it points this out in the Scrab section of the Oddworld art book, is that Scrabs, or Oddworld creatures in general, they were designed to be as anatomically correct as possible. Basically, like, well, how would a creature like this survive? They wanted to make, like, creatures that were as weird as possible but also as believable. And I think in Scrabs you really see that level of detail in terms of like their like muscles and the way their legs move. It's very like graceful. And the way they run, I don't know. Like for Sligs, it's like, okay, they're like basically androids. Mudokons are literally people, so it's not too hard, and Paramites are just creepy spider things, but Scrabs are maybe the most unique looking creatures in the game next to Gluckons. Maybe? Nah, next to Paramites. Paramites are second most unique. And they just really stand out. By the way, I've never died to a bat yet, so this is what dying to a bat looks like. That was really scary for me. That's why you need to peace out as quickly as possible. Those bats are ruthless, and they will aim for your body. I already knew I was dead as soon as I missed that jump. I was like, well, can't go anywhere. Which, by the way, great bell placement here. I can see they tried really hard making us go left. There's a ton of bat paintings in the background too. That's funny. More bat paintings. We are not even going to see bats anymore. Calm down with the bats. Maybe it's like a superstitious thing. Maybe bats are like crows in Oddworld. I wasn't supposed to do this yet. I just noticed also there are doors in the background facing the canyon walls. That's pretty cool because it reminds me that, you know, I know there are some cultures out there that actually live in like the walls of caves. The holes of big walls that are basically caves. So you can kind of see their inspiration coming from there. It really gives off a really like is about me showing how ignorant in cultures I am. I guess kind of like old like native cultures in America, like Central America, South America. A lot of that influence shines through here in the Scribanian temple, where in the Paramonian temple it's more just like lots of big sticks and stuff. It's a forest. I don't know. The architecture is much more interesting, is what I'm trying to say. Alright, that's the last room in the Scribanian temple. We'll be able to finally attack the trial. Thanks, Well. That was helpful. Just like last time, I'm going to go through the stage first in the background, just so people can get a good idea of what it all looks like, because otherwise you'd just be running through it. And also so you can hear the really cool tension music. Easily some of the best tension music in the game. Too bad the music repeats a lot, though. Not coded very well in that regard. I don't know what happened there. Let me quite. I don't know why that guy yelled. He must have been having a bad day. Pause here to let the emulator, or the legitimate PlayStation console, to reassert itself. Because, you know, it's bound to happen at least sometime. It's been pretty good for most of the Let's Play. Alright, I'm feeling pretty good about this. Let's get going. Oh, well, finally. That's not supposed to happen. Finally, you saw a thing that wasn't supposed to happen. Jeez. Usually that guy chases you all the way through. What a goof. And looks like I'm the goof now. I don't know why I jumped there. That's not the right thing to do. Alright. There's that noise again. Let's go through this the correct way. And here's the final room. So this part is probably the trickiest part of the whole trial, because you want to be able to kill the Scrab down here by making him fall. And then you have these things. These things are the most dangerous things in the Scribanian temple. Their hitboxes are really bad. Sometimes if you stand next to them without jumping, they'll just flat out kill you. So you kind of have to pray that that doesn't happen. And then just, they fall so quickly, it's hard to keep track of them. Only when they fall at the exact same time right there is when I can tell when to jump. But as soon as you pull this lever, it's okay. And if you don't fall, you're home free. That's the Scribanian Temple. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. We're going to be revisiting an old place soon. Talking. Revisit. Talk. Cutscene. Goodbye.
My test was completed. I expected to rest. Then the big face revealed the intent of my quest. The two scars together, on the back of each hand, they could shut down ruptured farms and restore the lost land. With hand scars complete, the spirits took form. Now my chant had power. Rupture farms should be warned. Yeah.